Let's carry on. And I've got a man for Gary Russell Jr., brother. Take care of him.
What's going on, you guys? So, Gary Russell Jr. has once again come out with another video. Now, I kind of figured this was going to happen after the series of videos that he's been kind of putting out. So I figured I'll wait till the end of the week to give my thoughts on what's been happening. And based off of my analysis, your boy Bushido's analysis, right? I'm paying attention closely to this. And at first, it was cute. It was cute. Gary Russell Jr., you know, a guy that a lot of boxing fans respected, but a guy that a lot of fans seen that wasn't getting any opportunities. You know, so he started calling out Terence Crawford out of nowhere, right? Start calling out Bud. It was cute at first. It was cool. Gary Russell Jr., yeah, he called out Bud. And he got his name a little buzz, and, you know, he had a little momentum with his name. But fast forward to today, he's still persistent on calling out Terence Crawford. And now a lot of fans is looking at him with the side eye. A lot of fans is looking at it like, okay, are you serious, bro? Like, this is getting old now. Then you got some other fans that's feeding into it. But Gary Russell Jr. is a guy that's clout chasing. Okay? Yeah, I said it. He's clout chasing. Because that's basically what it is. Because let's just be honest, it's not like he's a weight class below or weight class above. He's like 3 down. Like 3 or 4 down or some shit, right? So it's not even realistic. It's not even practical. They wouldn't even sanction that type of fight. So it's looking like you clout chasing. And nobody in their rabbit mind believes that Gary Russell Jr. could go up that many weight classes and beat a guy like Terence Crawford. There's so much of a reach difference. There's so much of a size difference. It's just too much of a size disparity for him to even think about fighting a guy like Bud. It's insane. But he's coming off a man that's jealous. A man that's jealous of Terence Crawford. And you probably question, why do you think he's jealous, Bushido? Well, let me tell you why. Because Gary Russell Jr. was the man in the amateur days. All of us boxing fans know it. All the guys in the boxing scene know it. That Gary Russell Jr. was that guy back in the amateur days. Terence Crawford, not so much. You know, a lot of those guys probably didn't see Terence Crawford being where he is today. But this is where he's at. And Gary Russell Jr., a lot of people probably felt that Gary Russell Jr. would be the guy that's where Terence Crawford is today. And you best believe Gary Russell Jr. probably felt that. So now it seems to me like this is a man who had this built-up animosity for Terence Crawford for years. He's been watching Crawford do his thing over there on Top Rank, you know, getting a lot of praise, getting a lot of credit for doing the things he's been doing in the ring. And he low-key didn't like that. You know what I'm saying? He low-key, and Gary Russell Jr. seemed like a guy, just based off, he do too much, okay? So when you do too much, a lot of people see who you are, start to see who you are. And he's doing a little bit too much. Before Gary Russell Jr., you barely heard anything from Gary, right? You barely heard anything from him, but now you're hearing about him every damn day. He bringing up some old amateur stories that really, it don't matter. What's the point of it? You know what I'm saying? And you coming off as a man that judge. Terence Crawford was the guy that got discovered by luck. Gary Russell Jr. was the outstanding amateur. Gary Russell Jr. was the pure blood pit bull. Terence Crawford was the mutt. But now that mutt is shining. That mutt is at the top of the sport. That mutt is the guy that a lot of boxing fans is talking about right now, for better or worse. That's the guy that everybody's talking about right now. Whether they dissing him, whether they praising him, they talking about him. And now you mad. And that's what it is, people. That's just what it is. Gary Russell Jr., he's coming off as a man that's jealous. And it's kind of, how could I say this without being super offensive? It's kind of weak, okay? And what really made me look at Gary Russell Jr. in a totally different light, because like I said before, I thought it was fun at first. But once he brought in a young kid, Jaleel Hackett, once he brought him in it and told that little story about what happened to him in the gym, and I thought that was super weak. I also thought it was weak when he told Mark Too Sharp Johnson and Carl Dargan to co-sign for him, but their stories didn't align with his. It aligned more with Terrence's story, so it made him look like a liar. So he told them don't talk to him. He got all mad about it. Boxing fans didn't pull Gary Russell Jr.'s coat from it, though. Why? Because he's dissing Bud Crawford. And that's the popular thing to do right now. But at this point, Crawford, what should he do? Should he fight Gary Russell Jr.? I know a lot of guys said he should fight him. You know, he's talking a lot of trash that he should fight him, but should Terence Crawford even entertain the idea of fighting Gary Russell Jr.? I'll tell you what should happen. Kell Brook, at the beginning of this video, right, you seen what Kell Brook said, that he was going to take care of Terence and he had Kid Gallahan take care of Gary. If Gary Russell Jr. was smart, he would have jumped on that opportunity. Because at this point of his career, he's 32 years old, he can't afford to miss out on any kind of opportunities. And the opportunity to fight on the undercard, even if it's a guy like Terence Crawford that you don't like right now, it's an opportunity to be seen on TV, bro. Because people gonna be tuning in to see Bud fight. You best believe that. His pay-per-view numbers may not be crazy, because let's just be honest, pay-per-view is a hard sell nowadays. But if it's on regular ESPN, people gonna be tuning in to watch it. Even more so now, because of the whole Errol Spence saga and the whole welterweight storyline, right? So a lot of, especially those hardcore fans, we gonna be really watching Terence Crawford. And it would have been smart for you to be on that undercard to display your skills. But now you want to take the hater route. You want to continue to persist to ruffle the feathers and to add fuel to the fire, when you could have just been like, yeah, you know what? We could do that. I'll squash this little beef with Terence. I could try to holler at Bob and see if I can get on that undercard with him and Kell Brook. You know what I'm saying? Then we see what happens from there. But nah, you too arrogant, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy, man. And then you got a lot of fans feeding into it. It's okay. It's cool. It gives us something to talk about. You know what I'm saying? It gives us something to talk about at the end of the day. But Gary Russell Jr., I don't know, man. It seems to me like you can't tell him nothing. He's the guy, because the old head had told him, you know, out of love. You know what I'm saying? When the OGs sit you down and try to tell you some shit, usually out of love. And he got offended. He took offense to that, and he even attacked the OG and his son, because the OG told him, you really don't need to be dealing with Terence Crawford. And he got extremely offended from something like that. Like, come on, you need to calm down, bro. And then, you know, one of my guys did an interview with him, and they asked him, don't you feel that you're giving up too much in a fight against Crawford? He got offended there. Damn near got into an argument. You know what I'm saying? So you can't really tell Gary Russell Jr. nothing. He's going to do what he's going to do. And he better be careful, because whoever he fights next is mandatory or whatever. He's going to have to look good in that fight. He's doing a lot of talking. So whenever he does fight again, people going to be paying attention to him and see if your skills have diminished. Because what all us boxing fans know and all us boxing people know, the heavyweights usually tend to mature later than the smaller guys. So Gary Russell Jr. might be reaching past his prime. He could be in phenomenal shape, but as a fighter, he's reaching past his prime for a small man. Manny Pacquiao is probably a rare exception. You know what I'm saying? Marquez probably was a rare exception. But not too many little guys could be fighting up in their 40s and 30s at a high level like that. So his clock is ticking. He's looking real desperate, and he's really looking like a man that's jealous. Like, subscribe, holla at your boy. Peace out.